This is the Dzogchen Semde Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. It is Luke Skywalker early Friday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after chanting the fourth quarter of Garab Dorje's Dorje Sempa Numka Che, known in English as the vast expanse of Vajrasattva. Now, what I found is that to get the most out of this energetically, we'll want to keep two things in mind. We'll want to touch each thumb to its ring finger. That helps bring our energy to the place behind our navel. Additionally, I recommend that we breathe from our diaphragm, allowing it to pull down as we inhale. Pure pleasure arises spontaneously, solely, and exclusively. As a pristine awareness of Hatha Yoga's noticing of mind's antics and relaxing into my ungraspable nature. In the power of pure presence that is Dzogchen's noticing and relaxing, reality cannot be found anywhere else. Every sentient entity has an autonomic nervous system. Enlightenment is only found by cooperating, passively cooperating with that autonomic nervous system that has evolved to notice and relax in harmony with our breathing. When we indulge our controlling tendencies and overwork the front of our brain, relying on active focus and active analysis, that path may take us many places, but mastery of the Buddha's teachings is not one of them. Together, how could both Mahasandhi's noticing and relaxing be both easy and difficult? It is difficult to those ensnared by. So Mahasandhi and Dzogchen and Hatha Yoga are synonyms for the exact same practice. Rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, and elitist tendencies because it is so easy. Now, I might have broken momentum, so let's go back to this bit right here. It is difficult to those ensnared by their rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, and elitist tendencies because it is so easy. The luminous mind of Trek shows awareness and release is invisible and all-pervasive. So Trek show is also a synonym for Hatha Yoga. It cannot be pointed out by name. It cannot even be shown by Vajrasattva, the archetype of simply noticing and relaxing. So, the freedom we desire, the peace we desire, the love we desire does not come from supplicating a statue, but from learning the lesson of the archetype, which is to notice and relax. This marvelous, miraculous display of awareness, vulnerable, passive, visceral, random, and fleeting, undirected, free from like space, arises momentarily, spontaneously. Even out of amorphous bewilderment. So noticing whatever comes up, noticing vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly feels kind of scary for those of us who were raised to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and sometimes even cruel. But that discomfort is the price we pay for freedom. One moment. Oh boy, here we go. This is the all-inclusive modality of Bhakti Yogas, noticing mind's antics and relaxing into its non-graspable nature. That is the effortless function of our autonomic nervous system. Which is naturally present in all beings. Please bear with me. I apologize for the inconvenience and for me breaking rhythm. In this dust storm of lighting delusion, we call for medicine as if from afar, although mind's very nature to notice and relax is the cure. There are people who will tell us that don't be deluded, and if you're deluded, it is shameful and wrong. But it's natural to be confused. It's natural to be confused by the way things can seem stressful, by the way things can seem permanent, by the labels that we sometimes cling to with white-knuckle intensity, by the illusion of solidity and permanence. Our job is not to lie to ourselves about what we perceive, emote, intend, reason, recall, and imagine. Our job is to be vulnerable and honest with ourselves and to notice what we experience as we breathe in, regardless of whether it's incorrect, and relax as we breathe out. That simple process of cooperating with our autonomic nervous system is the key to greater wisdom. So it's not by fighting delusion, but by cooperating with delusion that delusion is transcended. Let's continue. In the field of ordinary experience lies pure pleasure, itself the pristine purity of mundane existence. One moment. So we evolved to have two reward systems, a hedonistic dopamine system that rewards with pleasure and an altruistic oxytocin-oriented system that rewards with feelings of fulfillment. Let us be honest with ourselves. The dopamine system keeps us alive. It keeps us breathing and hydrating and eating. It causes us to find shade when it's hot, warmth when it's cold. It causes us to find sexual partners, which is key to the survival of the species. But we don't have to be slaves to our dopamine-oriented reward system. The pleasure we seek is already here. By noticing whatever comes up and relaxing into it, we uncover that pleasure, a pleasure that is often wholesome, harmless, and beneficial. The more we practice mindfulness and meditation, noticing and relaxing, in harmony with our breathing, the more our choices, utterances, and deeds flow, not from contrived calculations, not from wild scatteredness, but from love's deeply centered spontaneity. So our job is not to repress or desire for pleasure, but embrace the most efficient way for us to experience pleasure, both short-term and long-term, through love's deeply centered spontaneity, unearthed or generated or accessed simply by noticing and relaxing in harmony with our breathing. Together, in every inhale, let's reestablish the momentum. In the field of ordinary experience lies pleasure, itself the pristine purity of mundane existence. In every inhalation's awareness, finite light-like perceptions coalesce. And within every exhalation's relaxation, boundless space is established. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we perceived during our previous inhalation could feel as if it was melting into vast, empty void. A simile is only as effective as it is relatable. So, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast, empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could be tantalizing to the eye, feels non-graspable to the hand when we reach out and try to grasp it. Together, let us chant. Out of our inhalations, nebulous rainbow light-like perceptions, emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. The five Buddha families, distinctive qualities of mirror-like wisdom, discriminating wisdom, pervasive wisdom, all-accomplishing wisdom, and equalizing wisdom appear as we relax into our exhalation. So there's a lot here. Over the centuries, teachers used archetypes and symbols to represent teachings to audiences who were largely illiterate. That was great. But over time, those who were more literal-minded, those who were more rigid, began viewing metaphors as literal teachings, and things became confused. And so the five Buddha family teachings became confused. There aren't five Buddha families like the five mafia families from The Godfather. We have five digits on each hand, 4 fingers and a thumb, and that's an easy way to think of the 5 mental poisons of dreading, desiring, delusion, jealousy, and pride. It's been found that as we relax into our exhalation, whatever of those poisons we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel fleetingly less permanent, less stressful, less defining, and even less solid. And we feel a little bit of freedom from the tyranny of those destructive, survival-oriented drives. And so it can very much feel that by cooperating with our autonomic nervous system in this manner, our dread transforms into mirror-like wisdom, our desire transforms into discriminating wisdom, our delusion transforms into pervasive wisdom, our jealousy transforms into all-accomplishing wisdom, our pride transforms into equalizing wisdom. So these 5 wisdoms are not the antidotes to the 5 poisons. The antidote is noticing and relaxing in harmony with our breathing. These so-called 5 wisdoms are just a metaphor for freedom from the tyranny of our destructive tendencies. Tendencies that work well occasionally in a life or death situation, but when relied upon continually in all situations, make our lives shallow and less meaningful. Let's continue. Likewise, just like particles vibrating yet unmoving, like horses chomping at the bit, Lord Vajrasattva, the archetype of simply noticing and relaxing, generates the loving and deeply centered spontaneity of our 5 elements. So just as all beings are comprised of various shufflings of electrons, protons, and neutrons, similarly, we each have access to the awareness and release that truly enrich life. The key to unlocking our prison cell is already in our hands. Labels such as past, present, and future are redundant. For viscerally comprehending the unborn and unceasing is to know the sublime unity of time. Now let us explore. So please let me know if the word time is legible, oh friends of mine on the Tube app. We're now going to explore the folly of Mahayoga's ritualistic offerings and dedications of merit. In sameness magic's temporal creation is impossible. In oneness dedication of space is superfluous. The naturally occurring offerings of adoration to an archetype defy the improvement. That's one. Hey, fix this real quick. Insert home italics. Okay, here we go. The naturally occurring offerings of adoration to an archetype defy the improvement that come from passively cooperating with natural perfection. The spontaneously prevent. thus spontaneously preventing any contrived dedication of the offering is naturally pure. Aha, let's go back and fix that. The spontaneity preventing any... Oopsie, having some trouble here. Here we go. The spontaneity preventing any contrived dedication of the offering is naturally pure. The universe thought of as a spontaneous offering is already ambrosia. A specific sense and its consciousness are indivisible in Nati Yoga's noticing and relaxing, which are the highest samadhi. Our intending intellect is the giver, and the spontaneous arrangement of natural offerings lies in the power of awareness's gaze. The city powers natural to clear seeing, all the fruit of noticing and relaxing's perfect meditative balance. So, over the centuries, Buddhism became divided between proto-Buddhism and institutional Buddhism. Today, institutional Buddhism wears many names, sometimes Theravada, sometimes Mahayana, sometimes Vajrayana, sometimes even Dzogchen. But as long as it's being driven by our dark tendencies to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, cruel, it does more harm than good. One of these symptoms of institutional Buddhism is ritualism, making offerings and making prayers and generating what we think is good karma, and then aiming that good karma through intention, guided by words, sometimes recited and sometimes chanted. All those things feed into the duality of our controlling tendencies. The Buddha was against ritualism. He was just a meditation teacher. And so the author here is reminding us that everything that we would offer is already present, and therefore offering it to a real or imagined entity is an act of redundancy. One time when I was a little boy in Hebrew school, me and my tutor and the singing instructor were all in the same room. And I noticed that she had a bunch of guitar picks in a fold of her guitar strap. In my idiocy, I plucked one out and said, "Look, I found your missing guitar pick." And she said, "Thank you for finding the guitar pick that was not lost." And she was amused at my foolishness. And just as that was folly, likewise it is folly to present offerings that are substances that are naturally occurring to a real or imagined God who made them. So this is just a really exhausting way of saying offerings are not necessary. They're silly and foolish and childish. And that if we must make offerings, remember to real or imagined entities, remember the ultimate offering is to spontaneously notice and then relax. That's the highest offering. The practice of the mindfulness and meditation that is our birthright. Let's continue. A flash of awareness in Kuntu Zongpo's tantric union, and blissful satisfaction is the commitment of our Samaya's tantric vows. Moving in the dance of love's deeply centered spontaneous, skillful means. Non-dual union is the ultimate offering. So non-dual union in this context is not a reference to naughty tantric sex. It's not a reference to some obscure philosophy or contemplation of our energy channels. The ultimate union is noticing and relaxing in harmony with our autonomic nervous system. It is the key to union. It is the key to the keeping of all real or imagined vows. It is the ultimate offering. When we read the Buddha's Eightfold Path of Enlightenment, there is no mention of vows or karma, but there is a mention of loving kindness. How often is it mentioned? 50% of the time. The key to morality is not a vow. The key to morality is simply using loving kindness as our North Star. To use loving kindness as the key to centered spontaneity. Let's continue. Detached generosity is the formal grain offering, and non-action of love-centered spontaneity instantly consummates all rituals. So the ultimate ritual is no ritual. The ultimate offering is just the spontaneous generosity we experience towards others, be they our neighbors, or relatives, or distant denizens of the opposite side of the globe. Uncontrived pristine awareness dissolves obstacles. One moment. I am looking for home. Here we go, and here we go. So, please bear with me. I know this editing can seem tedious. The uncontrived the pristine awareness, which is simply noticing and relaxing, dissolves obstacles. And unspoken meditative balance is the hymn or mantra of praise. Many people superstitiously try to protect themselves from real or potential misfortune by supplicating a wrathful deity. There is no need to do that. The ultimate protection comes from simply noticing and relaxing. Many people seek wish fulfillment through mantra recitation, be it recitation of a mantra or a dharani or a praise, but the ultimate mantra is simply the practice of noticing and relaxing. Veneration of the Lama, generosity, and all such meritorious activity. Whoops, what did I do? Okay. Veneration of the Lama, generosity, and all such so-called meritorious activity become a serious bind when enacted without awareness and releases imperturbable detachment. We come now to the final passage. Concerning this very transmission, if it is contrived, it becomes an obscuring veil. If pseudo-intellectually conceptualized, its reality can never be achieved. So there are many people who say, oh, this teaching is only for special people, who've, spent decades performing rituals. And no, it's not. This is an open teaching for everybody. That can be mastered, according to the Buddha, in as little as 7 days. Having completed our opening recitation, we can now shift gears. Let us sit as sustainably as we can. To gently invite our real or imagined energies to coalesce at our crown. We can make a subtle adjustment to our breathing and a subtle adjustment to our fingers. Let us use the tip of our left index finger to support the lower knuckle of our right index finger, palms up in our lap. Let us adjust our respiration in such a manner that as we feel air enter our nostrils, we silently and mentally recite the verb noticing. And as we feel air exit our nostrils, we silently and mentally recite the verb relaxing. No, our job is not to perfectly concentrate on our nostrils. Concentration does more harm than good. We're simply cooperating with our sympathetic nervous system by noticing as we breathe in. We're simply cooperating with our parasympathetic nervous system by relaxing as we breathe out. We don't have to force noticing, it's natural. We don't have to force relaxing, it's natural. But we play with these words as a way to help us to break our habit of actively competing against our autonomic nervous system, instead to cooperate with it. In addition to supporting our right index finger, our left thumb can rest upon the lower set of creases of its little finger, thus keeping track of our first set of 12 inhalations. We'll count those 12 inhalations in the following manner. Every time we silently and mentally recite the verb noticing during our inhalation, we can advance our right thumb across the sets of creases found on the underside of its four fingers. Together, let us do this right now in real time. Having come to the last set of creases on my right hand, I return to my left hand and advance the thumb tip to its next set of creases. And thus you get the basic idea of how we can count 12 sets of 12 inhalations over the span of approximately 15 minutes. In the final portion of the final quarter of the root text from which we chanted, the inference is that mindfulness and meditation, of noticing and relaxing, are sufficient. They free us from the need to manifest or protect or make offerings or dedications. The path is simple, the path is easy, the path is quick. Let us shift gears. In order to gently invite our subtle energies to coalesce in our chest, let us use the tip of our left middle finger to support the lower knuckle of our right middle finger, palms up in our lap. As we feel our chest swell with inhalation, let us silently and mentally recite the verb noticing. As we feel our chest subtly sink as gently we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite the verb relaxing. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. For Meditate Like a Jedi is made possible thanks to the generosity of viewers, just like you. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's dusk recitation, explanation, and practice of meditating like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.